Hi everyone, and welcome back to First the Coffee Crochet. In this tutorial we're going to go over how to make a super easy half double crochet dishcloth. This is a great pattern for beginners, especially if you're wanting to work on making straight edges and doing a border around a square. So to make this, it's just using the half double crochet stitch. That's the only stitch we're going to use in this, and we'll be doing half double crochets back and forth in a row to make a square, and then we'll be doing a border around our square. Now this dishcloth does have pretty much the same look on both sides. Your border is a little bit different on the back side versus the front side, and that's just because it's a one row border, so the front of the stitch is going to look a little different than the back of the stitch. So this pattern is in US terms, and the starting chain at the beginning of each row does not count as a stitch. If you want to change the size of this for the width, you just need to adjust the length of your initial starting chain. And for the height, you'll just change the number of times you do the repeat half double crochet row. The finished size is 8.5 inches tall by 8.5 inches wide. So to make this, you'll need 70 yards of a number 4 medium weight cotton yarn. You'll also need a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook, a yarn needle to weave in your ends, and stitch markers are optional. And as always, there is a written pattern for this available on my website, and I'll leave a link for that down in the description below. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to start out, we're going to go ahead and create our slip knot. Now for our starting chain, we're going to make a chain of 28, and you want to chain these loosely. Now one trick, if you have a habit of making tight chains, you can go ahead and up your crochet hook to a 5 millimeter for your starting chain and then drop it back down to the 4.5 millimeter once you start row 1. So we'll do our chain of 28. And then once you have your starting chain complete, because we're doing a border on this, it's best to work in the back bump. So when you have your starting chain for row 1, you'll turn it and you'll see these little bumps on the back. And that's what we're going to do our stitches into. We're going to be starting from the second chain from the hook. So when you're looking at these, that's the first one there, and then that's the second one. So to do a half double crochet, we're just going to yarn over a hook and then insert our hook into that chain, into that little back bump, yarn over and pull through. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3, and that'll give you a half double crochet stitch. Right, and we're just going to do that in each chain all the way down. So just in the next chain, go ahead and do a half double crochet. Do that in each chain all the way down. And these can be a little difficult to work in sometimes. And it does take a little longer to work in the back bump rather than just going down the chain. But it just makes for a cleaner stitch when you're going back around on the border. Okay, so once you're done with row 1, you've got all your half double crochets going down the row. For row 2 and each row for the rest of this, that'll go up through row 22. All we're going to do is chain 1, turn our work, and that won't count as a stitch, so we'll be starting in the first stitch here, and we're just going to do a half double crochet in each stitch all the way down our row. If you're having a hard time keeping your edges straight, it could be because you're not putting your stitch into the last stitch. You might be losing a stitch in a row, or maybe even gaining a stitch if you keep going down. You can use stitch markers to put them in your first stitch of the row. That way when you come back, you'll know exactly where that last stitch is. All right, so at the end of row 2, again for row 3, it's just going to be the same thing, and you'll just continue that up through row 22. So you just chain 1 at the beginning of the rows, and then starting in that first stitch after you turn your work, you'll just be doing half double crochets in each stitch all the way across. So you can go ahead and pause the video, and I'll meet you back here at the end of row 22. Okay, so once we reach the end of row 22, This is where we're going to start our border. Always make sure you get your last stitch in there. So to start our border, we're not going to turn or anything at the end of this row. What we're going to do is we're going to chain one, and then we're just going to tilt this to the side. So we'll be going down the edge here. And for a border, again, we're just going to be doing half double crochet stitches. Now the trick to this, because we are doing the side, we don't have individual stitches like we do up here. So you're going to be kind of going along and learning as you go if you're just new to this. And we're just going to do a half double crochet. And then as you go, you're just going to do this evenly. So what I like to do is just push this down so it's laying like a stitch normally would. And then where my hook is here is where I'm going to go in for my next stitch. So when I'm laying it down, it's going right there. We're just going to keep doing that all the way down. Now, if you start to find that your fabric's looking bunched up or it's stretching out, that means that you have your border with stitches here too close or too far away from each other. So you'll want to just work on getting this to where when you lay it down, your fabric stays flat. Once you get your rhythm down, you'll start to see where you normally place your stitches. So as you go along, you'll probably be doing it in about the same place. Now, another trick, if you're having a hard time getting these to be spaced correctly, you can always go up or down a hook size, and that can help with your spacing. Don't be surprised if this is your first time doing a border that is not turning out quite right. You can always pull your stitches out and try starting the border again. Practice makes perfect on borders. There's no exact science to it. You just got to get the feel for it. Now we're at the corner here, and in our corner we're going to do 3 half double crochet stitches into that corner. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're at the other side now, and down this side we're just going to do a half double crochet in each stitch. So this will be a little easier because you have stitches to guide you. And then once you get to the next corner, we'll be doing 3 half double crochets into that corner again. Okay, so now we're at this corner here, so we're going to do 3 half double crochets into that corner stitch. And you can just go ahead and crochet over the tail. And that'll just give you a little less weaving in at ends that you need to do. Right, and then down this side, we're going to do just like we did on this other side. We're just going to do evenly spaced half double crochets all the way down this side until we reach the next corner. Okay, so now that we're at the next corner, we're just going to do 3 half double crochets into that corner stitch. Right, and then we're going to do half double crochets in each stitch all the way down this last side. And once we get to the last stitch of this, we'll be putting 3 half double crochets into that last stitch, because that'll be our last corner. Okay, so this is our last stitch here because this is our first stitch of our border. So right here, we're going to do 3 half double crochet stitches. Right, and then to finish this off, we're just going to slip stitch our last stitch to our first stitch here. And then you can go ahead and fasten off and weave in your ends and enjoy your new dishcloth. Thanks for watching.